This is Gemara Sanhedrin, Daf Ayin Zayin, and we're holding on Ayin Vavam and Beis. We began the Mishnah. We're right after the Mishnah, B'siyata Deshmaya, the Zchus HaTorah, Talmud Torah Berabim should be an incredible Zchus Rafua Shalema for Tinok ben Miriam Ahuva B'seich Sha'ar Chole Yisrael. Says the Gemara, Omar Shmuel, Mitnema Loinemra Yad Bibarzel. What is the reason the word yad, hand, is not mentioned when it comes to barzel, when it comes to iron implements? Sha barzel mimis bekol shehu. The reason is iron has the ability to kill in any scenario, not just a barzel with a yad, with a handle. Any form of barzel has the ability to kill. Tani Namiyachi proves the Gemara. I'll bring you a raya. Oimer galui v'yadua lefanei. Says the Raisa. Excuse me, I skipped the word. Rabbi Oimer. Knew that sounded wrong. Galui v'yadua lefanei. It's revealed. Oimer v'aya olam, before the one that created the world. Shabar zalmemis bekolshu lefikach. Lanina Torah boy shear. Vani midi debar mivra, says Rabbi. Therefore, the Torah did not give a shear when it comes to an iron weapon. And that's the reason why honey immediately debarzi mivraz, where it pierces in a vital organ. Obviously, a blunt piece of iron is not going to have that ability, but a sharp piece of iron with the ability to pierce is that which has such an ability. And again, just to bring us back, anyone who's not holding in the Mishnah, this is coming on the line in the Mishnah that says, Reitzeach shehika Israel be'even oy be'barzel. Continues the Gemara, v'kavash alav l'teich mayim, as the Mishnah listed numerous forms, numerous ways of potentially killing someone. One of them was you hold him down in water, you hold him down in fire, and you hold them until they actually die. Then the person that does that is chayiv to be executed, which is included in what this Mishnah begins of, which is included in what the Mishnah coins. I can't find the words in the Mishnah. The Mishnah says that he is chayiv, meaning it's a deraisa. He's chayiv to be executed, to be killed. Says the Gemara, Reisha Abusa Kamashmlan, V'Sefer Abusa Kamashlan. Says the Gemara, there's two halves of the Mishnah. There's the half of the Mishnah that says you hold him down until a point he cannot escape, that you're chayiv. Then there's a second half of the Mishnah that says if you don't hold him down, then you're pater. Which one would obviously think both of these are two sides of the same coin. Why does the Mishnah have to list both? So says the Gemara, indeed, both of them are teaching us a chiddush. Even though you did not push him into the water or the fire. But since you created a scenario that he can't get out of it, and he dies chayv. Meaning one would think, I didn't push him in. Okay, I held him down. Is that called I murdered him? Says the Mishnah, yeah. Sefer Abu Sikamashlan, what? Afal Gav. Even though the dachvai, you pushed him. Well, kivon the bisham, you pushed the guy in the fire, you pushed the guy in the river. But since he could have gotten out, he might have not have, but since he could have, umeis, potter, therefore he is potter. Says the Gemara, kavash minol, in a case where he held him down. Where do we know he's chayim misa amar shmuel amar cross? Says the Torah, oy be'eva, with hatred. The rabbi says a mitzamseim, which comes to include. So it was mitzamseim, he confined someone to a small area in which he dies from. Says the Gemara, a story 5 lines to the bottom, who gavra, the mitzamsema l'chayuta, the chavre b'shimsha umesa. Someone held his friend's animal in the sun and it died from exposure to the sun. Ravina mechayev rachabar Rav Potter. Explains the Gemara, Ravina mechayev, why kal v'chaymer. We don't consider a shaygig to be like amazing. Nor vaynes kiratzin. And yet you're chayiv vayisam same. When you hold someone into a scenario that's the place where he dies, you are chayiv. As we turn over to Ayin Zayin Amid Aleph Nizakin when it comes to damages, shenasa boy shenasa boy and shaygemezid vainis kiratzain ein oidin is it not pashit shechayiv bahenes mitzamsein. That is the raya that you're chayiv. The second sheet was Rachbarav Poiter. Amr Misharsha my taima says in Misharsha, what is the reason Davua Da'aba de Poiter? Amar Kra says the Torah Moisuma Samakir Roseach should surely be put to death, the one who strikes his friend. Who Berzechu. Berzechu de Chayev loy mitzamsein. Only in a form of Roitzeach is he Chayev if you can find someone. However, Benizakin. If in our case, if you hold this animal in the sun, that's a form of nizakin, you're damaging your friend's animal. Such a scenario, you will not be chayiv. Says the Gemara, once we're on Rava, once we're on the topic of nitzamsim, the form of harming an animal, a friend, by holding him to a tight space. Amar Rava, 6 lines down, kaftai umeis berav pater. Someone ties up someone else, and he dies. And he dies from the holding him down from the hunger. Pater, he is pater. Says Rav another din. V'amar Rava kaftei b'chamav. Someone ties up someone else in the sun v'chumeis. Betzinan, they called umeis. Chayiv, then he's chayiv. Soiv chama, I love it. That's called a proactive action. You held him in the sun, in the freezing. But let's say you held him somewhere that eventually the sun will come and the sun will harden him. Or soiv sina lava. Right now it's not freezing cold, but eventually the cold is going to come. Then pater. Then it's called pater. It's not called a direct action. It's more indirect, and it's obviously a horrible thing that you killed someone, but you're not chayiv. Misa, because of that. Vama Rava, smack in the middle of the Amid Kafte Lefnei Ari, you tied up a person in front of a lion. Pater. Lefnei Yetushin. But if you tied him up in front of gnats, then Chayiv. Rav Ashi Amar, he argues, I feel Lefnei Yetushin Nami Pater. Why? Hani Azli Vahani Asi. It's not the same type, and therefore it's not the same gnats. And that's the reason why, says Rav Ashi, you're going to be pater. Similarly, Rava says the kafta of Ne'ari is pater. Why? Because the kafta of Ne'ari is pater. Why? Says Rashi. I'm sorry, I was looking for the Rashi. Rashi says, because Dinami, even if you didn't tie him up, there's a lion. It's hard to escape a lion. Says Rashi, Dinami loya kafas, even if you didn't tie him up, so he would not have been able to save himself. Minari, even though you did tie him up, you're still going to be pater. Itmar, says the Gemara, kafal of gigis. Son overturns a barrel on a person and he suffocates. Uparla ma'aziva, one opens up a plaster roof over a person and it becomes freezing cold and he dies. Rav Zera Chadam Chayev Achad Amar Pater. Says the Gemara, who holds what? Tistayim the Rava, I'll bring you a raya. We're 8 lines at the bottom. The first one is Tistayim Uda Amar Pater. The Amar Rava Kafta Omeis Berav, your Pater. Says where no, Ad Rav Zayim the Rav Zera Uda Amar Pater, Amar Rav Zera. Hi man. If someone brings up a friend into a marble chamber, an airtight chamber, va'adlik lei shragal, lights a candle there, umeis, and the candle, of course, utilizes the oxygen, and therefore in an airtight room that the candle slowly sucks away all oxygen, and this person dies. Chayiv time va'adlik lei shragal. Says the Gemara, if you didn't light a lamp, then you would not be chayiv. So too in the case where he flipped over the barrel, where there was no lamp, but he just eventually suffocated, Rav Zera would say he is pater. Answers the Gemara, Amri hasam b'loy shraga loy matzcha lehevla. In the case of the marble chamber without the lamp, either way, the foul air, the hevel, would not have been present, and therefore, as we turn over to Ayin Zayinum and Beis, Bishate, at the moment that the person is trapped in this marble chamber, the hevel, the foul air, will not be there. However, hacha beloy shraga. Whereas over here, when the barrel is over, someone said, Nami matzl hevla b'shate, the hevel itself will begin to begins at that moment. So the shaila is, what is this status quo? The status quo of an airtight barrel is it's airtight. Status quo of an airtight room is not the same thing. Says the Gemara Siman, again, reminding us of the Koyach HaSimanim. Let's dive into Zichru, those who are Shaykh. Amar Rava, 4 dinim of Rava coming up. Dachvai lebar v'sulam bebar. If someone pushes someone into a pit, but there's a ladder in the pit. Ubachar v'solko, someone else comes and take away the ladder. Va'afilu kaidim v'solkei pater. And even if someone else came and removed the ladder, and even if the one who pushed him in, he himself went and removed the ladder, Potter, he's Potter. Why? Because at the moment he went in, he was able to escape, and therefore you can't consider the putting him in the pit killing him. The eventual taking away the ladder is a form of grama, and therefore says the Gemara, you will be Potter. V'amar Rava, continues Rava. Zara to tris biyada, if someone shoots an arrow at someone else and that person has a shield, and someone else comes and removes the shield, and even if he himself does that, he himself comes and removes the shield, Potter, he's Potter. Why? Because at the moment the arrow was shot, mifsak piske gire, the arrow will not actually be able to hit him because he's holding a shield. You yourself took away the shield, still not considered a direct action of murder. If someone shoots an arrow and he has medicines, he's waiting to heal the cut, and someone else comes and scatters the medicines. Himself, the moment you shot the arrows, he could theoretically have healed himself. What do you mean? Says Rav Ashi, therefore even if there is samanim in the shuk, he could have helped himself. So in every case, you should be Potter. If the arrows were shot and medicine happens to come available, what is the halacha? Amar lahu, hare yatsa mi bezdin zakai. He left the court as an innocent man, and therefore, since there is a way to help him, since these medicines did indeed exist, therefore he can't be chayiv. Continues the Gemara of Amar Rava. This is within the list of the different dinim of Rava. Zarak Saror. Bekaisel, someone throws a rock at a wall. V'chazir la'achayre, and it bounces off. A hargun, he kills someone. Chayiv, etanatuna. Goin elu. And we found a similar brayso. Ki goin elu mesachim b'kador. They're playing with a ball. Shehar goy. If they're playing and they killed someone while playing. B'mezin aragin v'shagi gailin. Shagi Garland says Marab Shita, B'mezin aragin et tzrichle. Mao the tema arthot asura safeku mi yema dahadri. I would thought maybe it's asura safek because there's a funny way to kill someone. So who says you're going to actually be able to do it? Throw the ball off the wall and it'll hit him. Kamashlan. That's the chiddush that if you did it b'kavana, it's called that you murdered him. Tani Rav Tachlifa. Bar Marava Kamed Ravavu, Kion Elu Amesachakin Bekader. Like these, who kill someone by playing ball, Shahar Gai Taich Arba Amais, Potter. If he's within the Dalit Amais of the wall, then the one who threw it is Potter. Chutz Arba Amais, you are Chayiv. So says the Gemara, an interesting Geder, how close you are to the walls. Amalei Ravina Ravashi, Echi Dami, what is the case? Id Kanichalei. If the case is that he's happy that the ball rebounded and hit someone, I feel Nami. Then even what? Even if he's very short, he should be chayiv. You wanted to kill him. If that's not what you wanted, I feel Nami lo. Who cares dalat amos? Amar le stam maschakim bekadar bekama. Says the Gemara. What is the stam? When people play ball, kamadayli tfei minach nichalei. They are happier. The closer they get to the wall before they throw the ball, the happier they are, and that's the reason why within Dalet Amos you'll be chayiv, but more than the Dalet Amos, you will be not. And one last halacha says the Gemara, you telling me if you throw a ball, bounce off a wall, and hit someone, you're chayiv, that means it's your strength. Says the Gemara, if someone was trying to be Makadish, this is the para aduma, water adding the ashes. The nafal kiddush al yadu al atzad, and the water falls on its own on his hand or on the side of the water. And then the ashes fell in the water. And then after the ashes fell in the trough, puzzle. Then you are puzzle. What is the reason? It bounced off his hand. and therefore it's considered to be his koyach. But we just saw a moment ago that if it's not, the opposite. We see that after it bounces off your hand, it's not koyachu, therefore it doesn't work by paraduma. Question is, we just saw that after it bounces off the wall, it is considered koyachu. Says the Gemara, 12 lines to the bottom. The case we're talking about is the ashes are dripping, and it didn't really rebound with force. Tashema, with this we conclude, a needle, tummy needle that's putting on earthenware, vihiza alav, and so when sprinkles the mayim of the paraduma on it to purify it, safek alamachta hiza, if it's a safek, if it fell on the needle, safek alacheres hiza, umeitza aleha, it fell onto the cheres, and it just, dripped onto the needle. Has the asay psula. Hazal is psula. So what do we see? We see after it bounces off, after it's mitzah alel, it's not considered kayach. Matzah, it's no, we're talking about matzah was found, it didn't mitzah, didn't jump and splash off. Matzah happened to be there, and that's the reason why it won't work, because it's not called kayach. But indeed, in our case, it could be called kaychai. We'll stop over here, I'll pick it up from here. B'siyata dishmai.